Hello, book lovers. I'm Peg, the book prize addict, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the Pulitzer Prize winners. It's been a couple of weeks now, but I've just finished reading them all. Of course, we didn't know what was in the running before it was announced, so you have to start finding them. I check them out of my library as soon as it's announced, before anybody else can. And I just want to talk a little bit about prizes and the controversies that always arise, and this one even more so. First of all, the three finalists are announced all at one time. We don't get it ahead of time. On the day that it was announced last week sometime, they told us what the two finalists were and what the winner was. And there's controversy about that because the people that were the finalists but didn't win didn't really get to soak in the sunshine very much. They didn't get to know that they were even up for it until they found they didn't get it, though I'm sure they were still glad to get it. And there's always controversy on all the prizes I follow about different things. Is it diverse enough? Is it literary or too commercial? And that's part of the fun of following the prizes, is all the comments I see. So I thought I'd talk about the Pulitzer Prize just briefly, about the books themselves, and then a controversy at the last one, my favorite one, that I would be interesting to know some of your thoughts on. Okay, so I'm going to just go through here in order of my least favorite to favorite. Of course, I'll mention who the winner is. The first one is Monkey Boy by Francisco Goldman. This is a fairly older author he's written several books in the past, and I think this one is one of those that are part memoir and part fiction. It's always hard to tell which is which, but the main character in the book is named Francisco, and he's a journalist in Mexico City who writes about some illegal happenings in Guatemala and gets some death threats. So he moves back to New York City, where he was from and grew up. And that lends it to going through his different times of growing up. He's called a halfie because his father was a refugee from Ukraine and his mother was Guatemalan. So I see a lot of books lately that show people that really just can't seem to fit in anywhere, and that was his problem. They called him in school Monkey Boy. He seemed to have been quite skinny and a lot of dark hair, and so Monkey Boy was the name they called him. I think even his father called him that. There was a lot of abuse from the father, which it seems like it's all of the book memoirs now. You wonder if there's any good fathers. Of course there are, but anyway, so that one was okay. All right, next we have the winner, The NETANYAHUS by Joshua Cohen. Now this is a Fitzcarraldo edition that I got last year. I was on their membership plan. And the one that came out in the U.S. just recently has a good picture of it, of a 1950s car and everything. Quickly, this dealt with an actual story of the father of the former prime minister of Israel, not Netanyahu. He was prime minister 2 different times, but last year he lost it again. Anyway, his father went to a university to take a sabbatical or teach at the university in Upper New York for 1 year. Evidently that's true, and Harold Bloom, the famous critic, was there, and since he was the other Jewish, they were both Jewish, he got, I should say, saddled with showing this Netanyahu guy around. And it turned out to be the tour from hell. He brought all his kids and his wife to the cocktail party, and they proceeded to make a mess of things. It was funny, but it was almost too much. It kept going on about how awful the family was, how awful the guy was. At first, I wasn't sure if this was real or not, but I I, th I think it's me. It did win and probably deserved to win. It was good, but there was sure a lot about how awful that family was that could have gone in. It did include some Jewish history and things about the Spanish Inquisition, which was the field that the one guy was studying. And that was interesting, they brought in. So anyway, but this is the big winner. Okay, my favorite is Palmares by Gail Jones. This author, Gail Jones, was discovered by Toni Morrison, who helped her get started. Gail Jones last wrote a novel like 20 years ago, was when I first started book prizes, following book prizes, and I remember she's evidently has 5 now to publish, and this is her first one. I thought this was beautiful writing. It had to do with a slave girl in 18th century, growing up in 18th century Brazil, and how she lived, and she escaped from her owner and goes to Palmares, which is a refugee slave refugee place there, and then travel some more. It was a great mix, I thought, of mythology and some a little magic realism, which I always really like. And it seems like it's very South American to have a bit of magic realism in it. I'm getting used to that now and like it. Okay, it just read very smoothly, and I thought it was a great book, but here's the big controversy that I'm talking about. Okay, it takes place supposedly in Brazil. The Portuguese settled Brazil, and the comments are that it has a lot of facts, and but a Brazilian, I think it's Brazil. All of a sudden, I'm like, I hope I haven't got the wrong country. Anyway, some readers from that country, which I think is Brazil, came forward and said that there were so many things wrong with the history. It's a historical novel, and they didn't think it was right that she published it with so many things wrong. And she admits she didn't do a lot of research. She just had a story and happened to tell it there. So this has brought up a huge, you might say, controversy about who is allowed to write about things and countries and people. Is it somebody who doesn't really know much about them? Or is it just a good book and we don't care if it's true or not? It caused in the LitHub, there was an article written called "Why You Shouldn't Read Historical Fiction to Learn History," which is obviously on the side of the, it doesn't have to all be true, it doesn't have to be completely researched. So I'm not sure what I think, but I really enjoy it. Sometimes I think I enjoy it more if they just write the story and don't bother about a lot of the actual history. So anyway, those are the 3 up for that were up for the Pulitzer Prize, and the winner was Netanyahu, but this is my favorite. Thanks.